Now, a brutal daylight murder in Texas has shocked the United States. A 32-year-old mother of 5 has been stabbed to death in broad daylight. 2 sisters and their friend have been arrested and charged with murder for that killing. What shocked people even more is the footage of the suspects smiling and laughing as people took them away in handcuffs. The Del Rio Police Department received a call at around 2:10 p.m. local time on June 25th. After a woman arrived at a regional medical center with multiple stab wounds.
Some stories stay with you long after you first hear them. This is one of them, a mother of 5. A quiet afternoon in a small Texas border town, and a burst of violence so sudden, so public, that it left an entire community frozen in disbelief. Her name was Caro Peña. Most people who loved her simply called her Caro. She was 32 years old. She had a whole life ahead of her and 5 children who depended on her for everything. Then on an ordinary day in October of 2022, that life was ripped away in broad daylight. This was not a shadowy back alley. This was not the dead of night. This happened out in the open, near a Sonic drive-thru in Del Rio, Texas, where anyone could see. And when the dust settled, 3 women stood accused of taking her life. Today we are going to walk through what happened to Caro Peña, step by step, using only what has been verified and reported. We will look at who she was, what unfolded that day, who was arrested, and where this heartbreaking case stands now. Before we go deeper, if stories like this matter to you, if you believe every victim deserves to be remembered and every family deserves answers, do me a favor right now. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. It costs you nothing, and it helps make sure cases like Caro's are never forgotten. Now, let's begin. To understand the weight of this loss, you first have to understand who Caro Peña really was. She was not just a name in a headline. She was a mother of 5 children who woke up one morning with a mom and went to sleep that same day without one. Think about that for a moment. 5 young lives, forever changed. Those who knew her described a woman who was deeply woven into the fabric of her community in Del Rio. She had friends who cared about her. She had people who checked in on her, who called her, who worried about her. In fact, one of the most heartbreaking details to come out of this entire case came from a close friend who later revealed that Caro had tried to call her in the moments before the attack. That friend missed the call, and she has carried the weight of that missed connection ever since, wishing with everything in her that she had picked up the phone. That single detail tells you so much. It tells you Caro was loved. It tells you she was surrounded by people who would have done anything to protect her, and it tells you just how fast everything changed. One minute she was reaching out to someone she trusted. The next, she was fighting for her life. She was a woman with routines, with relationships, with a full and busy life raising 5 kids in a tight-knit border town where people tend to know one another. That is what makes what happened next so shocking. This was not a stranger in a faraway place. This was one of their own. Now let's talk about the day everything changed. It was a Thursday in October of 2022, an ordinary afternoon in Del Rio, Texas, the kind of day where nothing is supposed to happen. According to reporting from local outlets and national coverage by News Nation, Caro Peña was near a Sonic drive-thru when the unthinkable began. This was not hidden. This was not concealed. It happened in a public place, in the middle of the day, where people could witness it unfold. What investigators would later describe was a brutal and violent attack. Caro was stabbed, not once but multiple times, in broad daylight, in front of a place where families pull up for burgers and milkshakes on a normal afternoon. The violence was swift and severe. Emergency responders rushed to the scene. Caro's injuries were so serious that she could not simply be treated locally. She was airlifted, flown out of Del Rio all the way to San Antonio, where doctors fought to save her. But the wounds were too much. Despite everything, despite the emergency flight, despite the medical teams working to keep her alive, Caro Peña did not survive. She died from her injuries, and with her death, what might have started as a shocking public assault became something far darker, a homicide investigation. The Del Rio Police Department moved quickly. This was not a case with a vague description of an unknown attacker fleeing into the night. This was a case with witnesses, with a public setting, and as it would later emerge, with camera footage. The people of Del Rio were left stunned. How could this happen here? How could a mother of 5 be attacked so openly, in a place where children play and families gather? Those questions hung over the entire community as investigators began piecing together exactly what had happened, and more importantly, who was responsible. Before we reveal who was arrested and what investigators uncovered, let me pause for just 1 second. If you are finding this case as gripping and as heartbreaking as I am, drop a comment right now with the word justice. Let me know you are here, that you are following along, and that you believe Caro deserves to be remembered. Your comments genuinely help this video reach more people who care. All right, let's talk about the suspects. This is where the case takes a turn that surprised many people who followed it. Because when arrests were finally made, it was not one suspect, it was three. 3 women were taken into custody and charged with murder in connection with the death of Caro Peña. According to reporting from KNS5, along with coverage from News Nation and People, the 3 women accused were identified as Kitty Mia Diaz, Amhia Diaz, who was also known by the nickname Cookie, and Kyandra Renee Faz. 2 of these 3 suspects were reported to be sisters. Let that sink in. This was not a random stranger acting alone. Authorities alleged that multiple people were involved in the events that led to Caro's death, and the severity of the charges was reflected in how the courts treated them. Each of the 3 women was held on a bond of $5 million. $5 million. That is an extraordinarily high figure, and it signals just how serious the authorities considered these charges to be. When bonds are set that high, it tells you the court views the accused as a significant concern, both in terms of the gravity of the alleged crime and the potential risk involved. So what about a motive? This is the part where I want to be completely honest with you, because in true crime, honesty matters more than drama. Publicly available reporting focused heavily on the arrests, the charges, and the shocking public nature of the attack. What was not laid out in clear, verified detail for the public was a fully confirmed motive. Investigators explored what led to this violent confrontation, but the specific reasons behind it were not something splashed across every headline in a way that can be stated as absolute fact. And that is important, because in a case like this, it is easy to speculate. It is easy to fill in the blanks with theories. But Caro deserves better than guesswork. What we can say, based on the reporting, is this. Police believed this was not a spontaneous, unexplained event with no connection between the parties. The involvement of 3 individuals, 2 of them sisters, suggests investigators were looking at a situation with layers to it, a confrontation that escalated to something deadly. Authorities also indicated that as the investigation continued, additional charges could potentially be filed. That single statement is significant. It means law enforcement did not consider the case fully closed the moment those 3 arrests were made. It means they were still digging, still examining evidence, still building their case piece by piece. And that leads us straight into one of the most important developments in this entire story. Here is where the investigation gained real momentum. Because this crime happened in a public place, investigators had something incredibly valuable on their side: cameras. According to reporting tied to KVUE, new court documents revealed what police say was captured on camera before the fatal stabbing. Think about how powerful that is. In so many cases, investigators are left chasing shadows, relying on shaky witness memories or circumstantial clues. Here, there was footage that authorities believed showed events leading up to the attack. Video evidence can change everything. It can establish who was present. It can establish timing. It can support or contradict the statements that suspects give when they are questioned. When police have footage combined with witness accounts in a public setting, the picture becomes much harder to dispute. This is likely a major reason the case moved from a shocking public attack to 3 murder charges relatively quickly. The physical evidence, the location, the witnesses, and the reported camera footage gave investigators a foundation to build on. And remember that heartbreaking detail from earlier. The friend who missed Caro's call in the moments before the attack. That friend later spoke publicly about her regret, wishing she had answered, wondering if things could have been different. It is a haunting reminder that behind the evidence and the charges and the court documents, there were real human beings, real friendships, real love, and a real sense of what if that will never fully go away. The suggestion of possible additional charges also kept the door open. It meant the story was still evolving, still unfolding, and that everyone involved was still under the microscope of the justice system. So where does this leave us today? Caro Peña, a 32-year-old mother of 5, was stabbed to death in broad daylight in Del Rio, Texas, in October of 2022. 3 women, Kitty Mia Diaz, Amhia Diaz, and Kyandra Renee Faz, were arrested and charged with murder, each held on a $5 million bond, with authorities signaling that more charges could follow. That is the verified backbone of this case. What matters now is that Caro is not reduced to just the details of how she died, because the most tragic part of this entire story is not found in a courtroom or a police report. It is found in 5 children who now grow up without their mother. It is found in a friend who still wishes she had picked up the phone. It is found in a community that watched one of its own taken far too soon, in the most public and painful way imaginable. Justice in a case like this is a process. It is slow. It is deliberate, and for the family left behind, no verdict will ever fully fill the space where Caro used to be. But accountability still matters, truth still matters, and remembering her still matters. So here is where you come in. If this case moved you, share this video. Send it to someone who follows true crime, someone who believes victims deserve to be remembered and families deserve answers. Awareness keeps these stories alive, and I want to hear from you in the comments. Do you believe justice will truly be served in this case? What do you think investigators uncovered on that camera footage? And what stands out to you most about Caro's story? Let me know below. Every single comment helps keep her name in the light. If you are new here, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a case. We cover these stories with respect, with honesty, and with a commitment to the people at the heart of them. And so we end where we should always end. Not with the violence that took her, but with the woman she was. Caro Peña was a daughter, a friend, and a devoted mother of 5. She was loved deeply, and she is missed even more. May her memory be honored, may her children find peace, and may her story never be forgotten. Rest easy, Caro, you are remembered.